Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with Michael Jex, the tea drinking author. Today I'm going back to notebooks. I'm having a look at the Traveller's Notebook and some of the different firms I've used to get inserts for them, which are all really rather good. So let's have a look at it. Now here I have a fair selection of different types of notebook that come with the Traveller's Notebooks. Why am I looking at these? Well, I decided the other day I need a new diary, and I started going and looking through some of the old diaries I've used in the past. This is the Quo Vadis, and I used to use these as A5 notebooks when I was a salesman many years ago, and I always rather liked the simplicity of having your days down one side and then a space for notes on the other side, which just appealed to me. But oh, look at that, 2006. Over the years I started to prefer to have more space per day, because you could fiddle around with things a little bit and it made things seem just a bit more straightforward. This is an old one, good lord, that's very old and very dusty. This was a Viking Direct one. A Centurion, again Viking Direct. Here we have a delightful little one, which was a week to a view again. A Moleskin Diary. And then I moved on to more again. I tended to stick with a week to a view, nice and straightforward, didn't really matter which. But then I was fortunate enough to acquire my first Traveller's Notebook. This was my first Traveller's Notebook. As you can see, it has travelled the world. And the great thing is, every scar has some kind of memory. I love this thing, I really do. I've had it for many years. It's got a feel all of its own. And it has memories for me. It has basic essentials in it. So, a memory there from going to the Devon County show. And it's got an elastoplast, just in case of disasters. I've currently got two notebooks in it, one dot grid, one simple lined, and I also have a zip up case in it with one spare thread in case this one goes, some glue dots and a small, very small propelling pencil, which is delightful. A few years ago I was given this version as well, which is just as nice. Traveller's Notebook, Michael Jex. Very nice camel coloured leather. Feels gorgeous, but somehow the older one still feels better to me. So what was so radical about them compared to my old-fashioned way of having diaries? Well, this is some of my old ones. This cover is made by, I've got to make sure I get the name right. Let me just get to, oh yes, Citrus Book Bindery. And it's the Citridori. They do lots of different types of insert. You can have line, dot grid, whatever you want really. I've also got some artists' sketch pads from them with really glorious watercolour paper. But what's in these things? Well, these two are standard Traveller's Notebooks. This one, yeah, that's fairly good size paper. That one too is reasonably thick paper. No great surprises there. This is a notebook from Bandit Apple, a Vietnamese company. And I like them because when you look at the bindings, the Traveller's Notebook bindings are simple staples, and they can rust, they can get messy. The Bandit Apple ones always had these lovely stitched bindings. Sadly, I'm not sure that Bandit Apple is still going, but they were magnificent at the time. This is one notebook. When we managed to get a holiday, I got one of these craft paper notebooks, which gave me a chance of just making it feel a bit more like a holiday, so I could do sketches of the car and things. It was just fun. And I kept various things that remind me of the holiday, like details of the wineries and beer brewers and restaurants we went to. All good fun. Another traveller's notebook. This was a different holiday. This was a notebook that, in this Midori, was in my tent on the day back in about 2019 when the tent blew over and everything inside it was exposed to the air. As you can tell, I was not using waterproof inks, although the black was surprisingly good, but the blue and others tended to dissolve quite quickly. It's interesting with this. This is Blue Mare from Rohrer und Klingner, and with that, the ink is fine on the paper normally, but when it got wet, it soaked straight through. Interesting. So I have been using various Traveller's Notebook sized things for quite some time now. And as to diaries, well, I spent a lot of time using this style. This is a Bandit Apple diary again. It's not one of Traveller's Notebook's own. And they would have the date on the left hand side, no times, nothing at all, and then a space on the right where you could write. And I liked that. It was a good, efficient system. Now, just at the time I was starting to do this, here's a Traveller's Notebook version, which is brilliant. It's exactly the same, but I don't like having squared paper. And I also don't like the fact you've got to write in your own days and dates, because it just takes time, and I haven't got much time. But what was appealing was I discovered Chronodex, and the man in charge of it designed this system so that you could see at a glance what you were doing through the day. May look a bit confusing at first sight, but basically all you've got is, so you have a series of different levels that you can draw into with quarter hours marked in. So from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. you've got 5:15, 5:30, 5:45. You've got time from 6, 7, 8 before 9 o'clock in the morning. And then here you have 9 a.m, 10 a.m, 11 a.m, 12, 1, 2, and all the way round. So you can mark out morning and afternoon what it is you're doing, and then you just write in all the things round the outside that you think are relevant. That was a whole bunch of students that I was teaching at Exeter University in those days. So here is the sort of thing that was being designed by Chronodex early on with Patrick, and I've got to apologise in case I pronounced this wrong, but it's a surname of NG. Now, I don't know how really to pronounce that apart from Ung. So Patrick Ung designed this early on, and I started using it, and I was using it for some years. But the great thing with Chronodex is Patrick is astonishingly helpful. And so after a time I got to talk to him, and we started designing the style that I liked. So I would have the actual Chronodex on the left hand side. I'd have periods that I could write in per day alongside each of the Chronodex graphics, and then spare space and a to-do list. Saturday and Sunday were over here because I didn't need to have it broken down in such detail. And I thought this was just fantastic, and I used this for really quite some time. I also tried it in this format, but I didn't like it so much. It seemed wasteful in terms of the paper to me. I wasn't so happy with that. So I was using these for quite some time, getting used to the system, because they were enormously handy when I was going out and about, at the university in particular. And Patrick is very helpful. If you want to design your own system, he'll be delighted to assist. However, that all sort of moved on a bit a few years ago, when really I wasn't going out that often. I wasn't having loads and loads of meetings. But I did want something where I could try to keep track of what I was doing. So I moved over to the dark side. I moved to Leuchtturm, which has a similar sort of concept. They've got your days going down the left-hand side and space for notes on the right. And these were handy. I mean, I don't go out and about too much. So having one of these sitting on my desk, and then when I went out, I'd take my traveller's notebook, I'd make notes in my notebook and transfer them to the Leuchtturm when I got back. That was great. But of course, nothing is so perfect that it can't be improved upon. And last year, I started using this, an Euler planner, or Euler planner, which is a great concept. It has a series of goals you can attempt to achieve during the year. It's got the whole of the year mapped out. It's got blog posts mingling. It's got pages for stats, pages for projects, it's got pages for notes, and then it's got monthly, a month to a view section, followed by monthly goals, important things to do, and then you've got your weekly diary with your to-do list and notes following after. Weekly diary, to-do list, notes following after. It is brilliant. It really is. It's not cheap. I forget how much they are now. But it's a worthwhile investment if you're really serious, especially if you're serious about projects such as blogging, doing YouTubes, various things like that. I found it very handy at first, but last year with the pandemic and everything, I couldn't really get the use out of it. There was just nothing to put into it, which is really sad, but I'm not the only person I know who had that issue. So this year I started hunting around. I needed a diary fairly quickly. So I started looking at all of the things you could get for the Traveller's Notebook. I looked at an Euler planner. I looked at the Leuchtturm. I looked everywhere, and nothing quite appealed until I went back to William Hanna. Now this looks a bit filled because I've got some oversized Atoma paper in it. Take that out and those spare sheets, and it'll soon look much better. I have an awful lot of Atoma paper knocking around which I'm just trying to get through. But this is magnificent. I like the fact that you can have your pages with lines or dot grid or anything else which matches the interior cover of your notebook, or you can get them that don't match. But what I really like is just the simplicity of the diary. So I've returned now to 2 weeks to a view. If I need to make notes, I will take some note paper from the back of my notebook and move them in between these sheaves so I know what I've got to do. Very straightforward. This side will be for, let's just demonstrate. So put the paper in. This side will be for notes for that week. This side will be for notes for that week. Dead straightforward. And the great thing is you can also get a variety of different types of sheets from William Hanna. I'll put a link down the bottom in case you're interested. But you can get project planning pages, you can get self-improvement pages. Not really my sort of thing, but I know a lot of people are starting to look at that kind of thing nowadays. I apologise now, the noise in the background is the dog biting her nails again. So what's appealing about William Hanna? Well, this lot cost me 8 or 9 quid for a year's diary. The cheapest Leuchtturm was getting on for 20 quid. The Midori Traveller's Notebook style, they're nice, but they don't really suit me now. It's a shame, because having a notebook that you can carry around with you all the time, which also has a diary in it, is obviously very convenient. Perhaps I should have got the diary system for my mini A6 version. Might have been a better idea, I don't know. One thing I should say is, when you order your diary, if you do, it's a good idea to order replacement boards for the back of your notebook. So for example, this was the old one from the A6, this is the old one from the A5. And basically, you take out the old board, replace it with the new one, and you're good to go for the next 2 years. Here are some of the alternatives you can get. So you can get a weekly plan, you can get a weekly review, you can get a monthly plan, you can get all sorts. William Hanna really are quite wonderful in terms of the variety of different types of paper and planner that you can get. But that's my journey so far. I've gone from A5 large-sized desk diaries that I used to use as a salesman, split off very carefully into hours of the day with Quo Vadis. They were brilliant. I used to buy them back in the early 80s in Bentl's department store in Kingston upon Thames, because I used to work there. I moved from there to the Day Runner system, which was really rather good. I tried various other systems. I've forgotten the name of the darn things now, but there was something, the file-o-fax. Never could get on with that. As far as I was concerned, I was just writing things in on one page and then spending hours duplicating that effort, writing it into different pages. So you'd have an annual planner, then a monthly planner, then a weekly planner, then a daily planner, and you would just be copying the thing from one to another all the damn time, which I thought then and still feel now is a pointless waste of time. This way, now I've gone through all the Traveller's Notebooks and everything else, I've now got a desk diary, which is convenient. It's simple to see at a glance what's going on, and when I want to, I can add in some of the other things like notebooks or to-do lists and shove them in when I really need to plan for a week ahead, or add a to-do list or whatever it might be. So there you have it. Well, that was interesting. I intended that to be just talking about Traveller's Notebooks, but as usual, I sidetracked myself and got into all different types of diary. Still, it's worthwhile, because this is a good time of year to buy your diary for next year. It's, yes, one of those things. You may have your own particular style of diary that you like. As I've demonstrated, my style has really changed from a large desktop, moving to Day Runner, moving to small pocket types, moving to the Chronodex system, and then Leuchtturm, and finally ending up with basically just William Hanna, because they do the job so well. What do you do? I don't know. I can't hear what you're saying now because I'm on a video and you're listening. Right, thanks very much for watching. Hope that was interesting. If you enjoyed this, don't forget you can support the channel by going to Patreon. There's a link down there. If you're really interested in fountain pens and writing, then why not consider joining the Pen Pals Club? If you're interested, write to me at the email down there and I'll write back with a link. Apart from that, Don't forget to subscribe and share it and like it and hit a bell if you want to be told and all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about. And I'll see you in a week's time. Hopefully with either a new pen to review or a new fibre tip pen to review or something else that could be quite interesting. There's lots of things which appear to be waiting until UPS and DHL can be bothered to get around to delivering them. Such is life. Thanks a lot for watching. Speak to you soon. Take care.